It's the beginning of fall in Appalachia, and for most people around here, that means it's hunting season. In today's video, Phil is going to show you how to break down a squirrel and then take that squirrel and make it into squirrel gravy. If you don't want to see the first part, skip to the second. All right, so here we go. Phil's been out hunting this morning, and he got himself a squirrel. Say hi, squirrel. And so now he's going to go ahead and break the squirrel down, and then we're going to throw it in the Instant Pot and make some squirrel gravy.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm no expert at this, and I've only cleaned the squirrel this way one time. That was yesterday. And I thought I was going to probably do something a little different today by using the side cut pliers to take the hands off first.
Improvise.
Yeah, but you know, that was something we struggled with a little bit yesterday, was that part of it. And I thought to myself, why? I wish it would just take those hands and feet off with side cut pliers ahead of the time, and then it would just pop off like squirrel pajamas. All right.
Squirrel onesie.
Ready when you are, Sergeant Penbury. All right. So,
the killing block.
What'd you say, Lee?
Use my switchblade.
No. All right, so I'm gonna move in here. This is not for the faint-hearted. Just saying.
it's for the faint of heart. Okay. So we cut through until we get through the spine right here, which is actually the tail is just an extension of the spine. And then we step on this part here, pull up. That should sort of pants the squirrel.
Doesn't appear to be doing a very good job. Oh, okay. All right, there you go.
All right. And you grab here.
Oof. It literally looks like you're taking pajamas off of the squirrel.
See? That one's off.
Just each little leg. So for those of you who aren't from Appalachia watching this, squirrel is a pretty
That one's off.
traditional Appalachian food, and it is generally made into a gravy because, you know, you can see there's not a ton of meat on a squirrel. So you kind of cook the meat down and then
That arm's
Sorry,
out.
that was the dog trying to eat one of the squirrel feet. Whoa, it just shut off. Why'd you do that?
Probably not. Some Benadryl.
All right.
Back on?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Definitely say that's a
Head off. Come up through the side of the pelvis, up along the ribs.
Get it.
Through there. Same thing here on this other side. Straight up the side.
Locked in the garage, I bet, or in the basement.
That side there. Through the ribs.
All those years of medical school.
And that's how we're using it.
Well, the basic techniques are the best techniques.
Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. And then we come down through here, remove the heart. The heart, of course, has a hole in it Wrongful death.
And that's a hole that's not supposed to be there.
The hole's not supposed to be there.
Am I supposed to be weirded out? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, we have a vlog called The Idiot Farmers.
Oh.
And so that's what we put this on our vlog. There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, I think there's an awful lot of hair on there, so we're gonna have to go. All right,
Try it
one
3 more times.
Yeah, we got 3 more.
I'm not gonna do all these.
Come on now.
Okay, that's enough videotaping.
Yeah.
There. We'll stop there. So yesterday we showed you guys how to break down a squirrel if you happen to be out squirrel hunting. And today Phil's going to show you how to make biscuits and squirrel gravy. But before we do that, I just wanted to show off these beautiful dehydrated peppers. We got a 5-pound box of red hatch chilies from a place in New Mexico called the Fresh Chili Company. And when we got them, we just decided to go ahead and dehydrate them, so we'll have them for the rest of the winter. So that's exciting. We also have several jars of their chilies. But anyways, so I'm going to get set up to video Phil making biscuits and squirrel gravy.
All right, so what I've got here is, this is actually 4 squirrels that we got yesterday that we cleaned and processed. And one of the most annoying things about these little squirrels is that when you're skinning them and stuff, you'll sometimes get a little bit of hair on them and whatnot. So usually before I put them in the crock pot, and you see here in the crock pot, I've got one of those little grates in there, so it's not resting directly on the bottom. I don't think it would make that much of a difference. It's just giving them a quick rinse, trying to make sure that if there's any stray squirrel hair, you get the biggest part of it off. I think it's impossible to get all of it off when you have these little guys, but we'll just give them a quick rinse. These have been resting overnight in the fridge. Resting. Some people cut them up into parts before they do this, but since we're basically just pulling the meat off the bones, it's really not really necessary. So we have 4 processed squirrels here. To this, we're going to add 3/4 cups of water and 1 tablespoon of chicken bouillon. You could use Sazon if you've got it. That would be fine. Just something, a little bit of salt, a little bit of flavoring. You could just use plain salt and pepper if you wanted to, but I like the way this turns out. Put it in the Instant Pot. And because we're doing 4 squirrels, usually it's 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to be on the 20-minute end here. So manual, dial it up to 20 minutes.
High or low?
High. 20 minutes high pressure. And then once that beeps, we'll just let that go. And usually I'll do like a 5-minute natural release. In other words, 5 minutes after the buzzer goes off, we'll let the pressure off and then take it out and take a look at it. Alright, so we're going to make some biscuits to have with the squirrel gravy. First thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 450 degrees. This is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. This, by the way, is bakerbetty.com's recipe. So that's why I just think it works really well because we're making large biscuits here. 1 tablespoon baking powder. 1 1/4 teaspoons kosher salt. 1 6 tablespoons of leaf lard. This is some lard from our pigs from last year. I measured that out carefully earlier.
What kind of lard?
Leaf. It's from the leaf lard is from between the kidneys on a pig, sort of like this big lump on the inside, and it makes the best lard for rendering and using for this sort of thing. 1 cup buttermilk. We don't have buttermilk. We're just going to use plain old milk. You could make buttermilk out of the plain old milk using.
Do you want that?
No.
Using a little bit of lime juice.
Yeah, lemon juice or whatever, some kind of citric acid to cause it to coagulate. Alrighty.
I'm not sure how you mix it in. What?
I just added the milk before I cut the butter into it.
So how are you supposed to do it?
This is because of the daggone filming. How are you supposed to do it? You're supposed to cut the lard into the flour prior to making the biscuits. Yeah, you're supposed to cut the lard into the flour before making the biscuits. Guess what didn't get done? That. So we're just going to break it in. That is. That's okay. I like making a mess anyway. So, if you are on this site and you see this called Idiot Farmers, you might think, ha ha ha, they're being funny. No, it's actually true. We are good at certain things in our professional life. We are not professional farmers, and in fact, this is pretty much par for the course for getting to cut the lard into the flour before you make it. Anyway, we press this out to about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. I like to have the edges kind of high so when we cut it out, it looks pretty. We have our beautiful biscuit cutter here.
You're covered in flour.
You put a piece of parchment paper on there. It's in the left side there. So I like to put parchment paper down instead of greasing it. These are a little greasy to begin with. Maybe even more so now that somebody forgot to cut the lard in and spent the next 10 minutes mixing it in. But I think it's okay.
Whoa! In case anybody's wondering why I'm staying off the camera, it's because I'm still in my pajamas.
Alrighty, there's our biscuits. Alright, so you guys know that I screwed up the method of cooking the biscuits, but look. They turned out just fine. They're beautiful. So, anyway, just goes to show you, you can mess stuff up and still not mess it up. Sorry if I'm not looking at the camera thing. It must be over here somewhere. Anyway. Okay, so what's happened since the last time we were on is that 20 minutes plus 5 minutes natural release in the Instant Pot, then we released the pressure off of it, took the squirrels out, let them rest for a few minutes. We didn't video us taking this meat off the bones because it's basically like taking the meat off chicken bones or anything like that. Didn't feel it was necessary to go through that. Plus, looks a little weird. So for our gentler audience, you know, we've already probably scarred you with the squirrel processing videos, which went crazy as usual. So the next thing we're going to do is show you how we make the gravy. What we have here is the squirrel meat. If you don't have squirrel, you could probably cook chicken next, because that's about as close as I can get to the texture of that sort of thing. I've got some, I think I have 6 tablespoons of flour, 6 tablespoons of butter. I have a 1/4 cup of the stock, and I have 2 cups of milk. And we'll be using salt and pepper to taste. So I'm going to use our cast iron thing here for that. The first thing we need to do is melt the butter. This is basically making a roux, like you make roux for soups and things like that. You know, the flour and butter combination. Because we're making a white gravy today, we're not going to be taking this roux to you know, nutmeg or any of these other colors. We're just going to basically melt the butter, put the flour into it, let it absorb a little bit. It sort of gets the texture of I don't know, like cake batter or something like that. You can see it starts to get kind of smooth and creamy. And at that point, we add the stock and the milk and then whisk it all in. So before I forget to get the whisk. And our butter is melting nicely, and our beautiful Lodge.
Conspicuous product placement, conspicuous product placement.
We get no money from Lodge, but God knows we spend enough with those suckers. Lodge cast iron. Actually, you know, we have used all kinds of cast iron. We have some really old stuff. But I'll tell you, it's hard to beat Lodge. Their stuff comes perfect. So butter's about melted. We add our flour. And we start stirring them together. Again, we're just kind of going for somewhat of a smooth cake batter type result. And it doesn't take very long with the heat we're using. All right, Minnie, I don't know if you want to bring the camera over here. Okay, so I've added the stock and now I'm adding the milk to it. At this point, I'm going to switch from the spoon. Now you may notice our milk's a little bit clumpy here. This is non-homogenized but pasteurized milk. As you can see, as the heat comes back up, it's starting to thicken up a little bit. We're going to put maybe a teaspoon of salt, pinch of black pepper.
Personally, I like more black pepper than that in this, but you know, when you're cooking for other people, you got to be careful how much black pepper you put in stuff.
Yeah, we like quite a bit of black pepper in our gravy. All right, see how that's thickening up quite nicely? Get a testing spoon here for salt. No, I think that's good. So now we just turn it off. Because that's going to hold a little bit of heat. Now we're going to take our squirrel. That's what the squirrel looks like. See how nice? And let me tell you something about squirrel. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be gamey and whatever. No, not at all. This is very similar to maybe dark meat chicken or dark meat turkey, and there's absolutely nothing off-putting about the taste of the squirrel. Nothing wild or gamey about it. It tastes, well, and then if you've had domestic rabbit before, it's very similar. Now, if you wanted to make this into like a chicken a la king thing, you could add a can of mushrooms, peas and carrots to it, serve it over toast. But this is how we like it right here in the mornings, and it is...
There's the biscuits that came out of the oven. Looking beautiful, even though the lard wasn't folded in.
We folded it after the fact. It worked fine.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to screw up, guys.
Final product. Taste test.
Squirrel gravy over biscuits. A fall tradition in rural Appalachia. Again, the texture is very much like dark meat turkey. I think is probably the closest thing to it.
I think rabbit too. I think you're right on the rabbit.
Yeah.
It's very similar to rabbit.
Yes, ma'am, I like it.
There we go. Thank you again for watching this week's episode of The Idiot Farmers. If you like what you're seeing, please share, click like, and subscribe down below. See you in the next episode.